to the Ref Show. It's managers under the spotlight and under the pressure this week rather than referees, which is a pity because in general referees had a very good weekend in the Premier League, and we have to be very fair about that, and we're giving praise where it's due. Whereas in the management terms, Dick Advocaat, he's out at Sunderland, Brendan Rodgers sacked by Liverpool, Jose Mourinho under pressure at Chelsea. Delighted to welcome Kevin Davies to the You Are the Ref studio alongside Keith Hackett this week. Kevin, do you still want to be a manager?
Possibly, yeah. I think there's always going to be casualties now, and I think Brendan Rodgers was the second longest serving manager, wasn't he? Just over 3 years, so it shows you how quick the turnaround is now, and the pressure is intense, isn't it, really? And he's not far off the Champions League spot where he wants to be as well, but maybe one day, yeah, maybe one day.
Okay, in the meantime, you can give us the benefit of your knowledge and experience across Chesterfield, Southampton, Blackburn, Bolton, Preston, and England. Nothing I've left out there, I hope. Keith, a few errors, only a very few errors at the weekend, but there were some high-profile ones, weren't there? And we can look at the Mersey derby first of all, which led to, well, it didn't lead to Brendan Rodgers' demise. The decision was made ahead of it, but it was a 1-1 draw. Everton-Liverpool, Martin Atkinson, I think, the usual high-quality performance. Yes. But it was just the one criticism there, I think. Yeah.
Well, I think Lucas should have gone. I think that, in a sense, highlights one of Martin's problems, and that is this concentration element. You know, in a derby like that, you've got to make allowances. You've got to have a higher tolerance level. You've got to keep the game flowing. You've got to do everything. The passion's there. And it's just about measurement of balance. And let's make the point that for the majority of the time in that game, Martin did extremely well. But the big decisions, he's got to sort them.
I think you felt the same, didn't you, Kevin?
I covered the game, yeah. I thought he handled the game pretty well. It wasn't an old-fashioned derby by any means. There was a couple of flashpoints. Barkley was involved with somebody. It was a bit of a group that, you know, they get together and round, and I thought he handled that pretty well. There was Sacco and Lukaku had one towards the end of the game, and he just gave them both yellow cards and said, look, cut it out. But the Lucas one, I think it's one of those, had he not been on a yellow, he would have booked him. And I think that's a conversation that I keep having. You know, doing a lot of co-commentary games and covering games, there seems to be, there's one rule for the other, and it's kind of, if it's a yellow card, it's a yellow card, and I think that's what frustrates people within the game, the managers and the players. But if it's a booking, it's a booking regardless.
Regardless of whether he's already got a yellow.
And it's a fair point. I mean, even when I was in charge, we sort of the PGMOL, we had an understanding with referees that the second yellow was like orange. It had to be meaningful. What we meant by that was don't give a second yellow for a technical offence when in fact you can get involved and manage the situation. If you know that player's on a yellow, manage him more effectively, get close by and have the chats to try and avoid a second yellow. So
I think that's understandable when he's totting them up, if he's had 2 or 3 just normal run-of-the-mill fouls, but this one he was breaking, it looked like a dangerous attack and he's gone past him and he's just cynically clipped his heels, and it was a yellow card. So.
It's spot on. Kevin's spot on with that comment.
You're just afraid that there might be a stray elbow there or something. You're sitting very close. You're sitting closer than me. Let's provide him with a few high crosses to the far post. Chelsea and Southampton. I mean, it's established now that clearly over the weekend, you and our experts have said Southampton should have had 2 first-half penalties. They still won, 3-1 against Chelsea. And Falcao was cautioned for simulation. Correct decision, I think you said, Keith, that no penalty was awarded. What about the yellow card, though, for diving, effectively, for Falcao?
It's one of those that it sort of crept into the game, I think, and it's anticipating the tackle or the goalkeeper or whatever it is coming, where someone's gone to ground, and it seems to be the foreign players that are quite the masters, where they'll leave the trailing leg or they'll leave the body and they'll go into it rather than evading the tackle. I think they can get out of the way and go around if they want to, but it's kind of, it's a fine line between drawing a foul.
Was it a yellow card for you?
I
think he's looking for the penalty, so is that simulation? I'm not too sure.
Confused. What do you think, Keith? No?
I think the referee could have managed it, given the 2 major incidents in the game where he took no action.
This is Bobby Madley was the referee.
Yeah, I mean, I like Madley as a referee. I think he's got stature, he's got presence, and I think, you know, there are a couple of things that he can do that will really enhance his performance. I'd really like him to be fitter. By that, I mean, more effective on his sprints, his dynamic sprinting, and his ability to move a couple of metres. The first one in and around the penalty area was missed by the very fact that he was static, his awareness and concentration.
This is the holding, the shirt holding. The shirt nearly came off, didn't it?
Yeah, when you're coaching referees and the ball's entering the penalty area, you're saying, look, have high levels of concentration and awareness. These are the things that could happen. He wasn't even aware of it. I don't think it was a decision that he saw and he didn't give. It was one that he didn't see.
There was a later trip as well, so it should have been two pens.
I think just going back to that shirt pulling, I think it's one of those again, but they give outside the box, and sometimes I think they actually see it, but they're afraid to give it inside the box still, because I've seen it on a few occasions already, I've say covering games and seeing it, they just don't seem to give them inside the box, and I thought that was something that the Referees Association, all those kind of people had talked about and discussed.
Keith's nodding. Keith's nodding. It's been his argument for a long, long time. It's bad for the game to see that kind of thing not punished. Jose's comments. The referees are afraid to give decisions for Chelsea. What do you make of that one?
I clearly don't understand it, because I think that referees go in to the games in a neutral situation. They're not interested who's going to win, who's going to lose. It's important, that neutrality. But I do know that if you're preparing for the game, we know the tactics that Mourinho's prepared to use, and they apply pressure to the referee. He's gone away from that crowding that used to be the case a couple of seasons ago. You know, when a decision was given, whatever decision it was, 3 or 4 Chelsea players would run into the situation, and almost John Terry being seen to be the peacemaker.
It's a bit of intimidation, isn't it, kind of thing?
Absolutely, intimidation.
Well, in the second half of the Ref Show, we're going to talk in more detail about Jose's mentality, his psyche, why he makes these sort of comments, including he refused to discuss the Southampton penalty claims. I think we know why he refused, but interesting debate for the second half of the Ref Show. And also, I'll ask Keith about managers under pressure and whether that influences the referees, the way officials prepare for a game. Meantime, Neil Swarbrick seems to be making inroads and a good series of performances. Sunderland and West Ham 2-2.
Good to see him back. I mean, he's been out since August, or should I say he's not had a Premier League game since August, and I couldn't understand that, given the fact that the Premier League are only operating with 13 active referees. Obviously, you know, we don't know where Dowd is, we don't know where Probert is, and the new lad has just not made an appearance yet, so he could be a name that's not going to appear this season. So I think that Swarbrick is experienced, he's in and out as far as his performances levels are concerned, but give him credit this weekend. I thought he performed really well. He was on the ball, he was mobile, he was up with play, making positive decisions. Good game. Give him another.
Our RefCam experts were praiseworthy of most referees that they covered over the weekend, including Anthony Taylor. An excellent rating from Guy Beale, who covered that particular match. This was Arsenal's win over Manchester United. I mean, that again takes some refereeing, Keith, that sort of game.
Well, I watched that. He had a couple of cautions that were spot on. They were early-ish in the game. There were players getting caught short and if you like, stopping a promising attack, clear yellow cards given, high levels of concentration, terrific mobility.
And also some good marks over the weekend, let it be said, for Mike Jones, who covered Stoke's victory over Aston Villa. He was the referee there. Michael Oliver, as usual, I think now. Yeah. Bournemouth, Watford. Kevin Friend, the Aguero match, the 5 goals in Manchester City, 6-1 win over Newcastle. Mike Dean as well, reasserting himself after that blip the other week. Swansea and Spurs 2-2. John Moss, just very briefly, nothing happened really untoward for him in this game. Crystal Palace beating West Brom. And yet, Glenn Turner on RefCam was highly critical. A lacklustre, even lazy performance, he said. Is that justified comment? Nothing actually untoward happened there.
Glenn is very experienced. He sees referees and he's been close to it at international level, at Premier League level for many, many years. And therefore he understands that mobility issues with refereeing. He got a point. I think that we've issued this and expressed this over a season or more now. And if you're a professional referee, body shape is something that you've got to deal with. Mobility, once he gets the body shape right, the nutrition right, the fitness levels right, he'll look more the part.
There was a lot of long ball in that game, which may have made things more difficult for him, in fairness to him, but maybe also exposed that problem. And just finally, Mark Clattenburg, old friend of yours, and of you are the ref. Martin Atkinson is favourite, has been favourite, is favoured. I think the point is by people who count within English football for the Euros. For the Euros, we can't fudge that issue, and yet you and Mark Halsey and others believe that Clattenburg is a better referee. Again, Leicester beating Norwich, he's a good ref, isn't he? I
think he's a good ref, yeah, and I had a few issues with him, of course, but no one's hold grudges. That's the way it went. But I think he's pretty consistent, gets around the pitch, and I think he's one of those who talks to the players as well and explains things, and I think that's something that frustrates professional players when the referee doesn't. Yeah, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a very strong view. I think it'll be a total injustice if Mark Clattenburg is not selected to go to the Euros. He's been a loyal servant to the Premier League and English refereeing. He's been outstanding in Europe. He's taken games at the very highest level, officiates extremely well. And for me, you know, the others are way off. Even Atkinson is way off.
Well, you can't put it more clearly than that, Keith. And Kevin, do rejoin us for the second part of the Ref Show. We'll be discussing a certain Mr. Mourinho in a lot more detail. We'll see you then for that.